Homeschool parents, this is a message for you. As a homeschooler, I know you work hard for us. You have many different things to manage.
Our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program is your roadmap to a successful Waldorf homeschool journey. Gain the confidence you need to be the teacher your child wants and transform your homeschool experience. Homeschooling with Waldorf Essentials is one like no other. You not only have curriculum options, you can also add our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program onto your curriculum. What's in the Thinking, Feeling, Willing program? Rhythm, inner work, temperament, the Waldorf curriculum, learning and strengthening your skills in music, circle time, form drawing, handwork, painting, drawing, modeling, festivals, reading, writing, spelling, eurythmy and movement, and our bonus content. Something else you'll get when you join Waldorf Essentials that you will not find anywhere else is the community, and we all need that as homeschoolers.
This is your invitation to fill your cup. We know you're rooting for us. We are rooting for you too.
Welcome to this week's podcast. This is the second podcast in our series on detailed planning. I am super excited to have you here today. Today we're talking about class 1. So if you missed our early childhood and kindergarten podcast, you want to go back and catch that. Today we're going to be talking about the ins and outs and detailed planning for class 1. Now, I love our Planning for Peace program. Absolutely love it. It's a great opportunity for people to come and ask questions, for people to get their questions answered, but also to listen to everybody else. And often there are questions that come up that you don't realize you have. So we cover a lot in our Planning for Peace sessions, but I also realize that not everybody is able to do that. So instead of recording those sessions, which we did that for years and years and nobody listened to them, instead of recording those sessions, what we are doing now is just giving you a detailed breakdown. So if you are not using our Planning for Peace system, it's totally okay because we're just going to talk about the pieces. I am going to tell you the things that I think are the most important before you actually start planning for class 1. So number 1, how's your rhythm? So we spend a lot of time talking in Planning for Peace about rhythm, and that's really something that hopefully you have sorted, or at least are on this path sorting in those early years. If not, perhaps you've come to Waldorf a little bit later and you're like, oh my gosh, my rhythm is a crazy mess. Please check out our videos, our podcast pieces on rhythm. So I realize that this is going to be a little bit visual. So those of you who are listening to it on the podcast end rather than watching the video, hop over to YouTube and see the video part. But also I will try to be very descriptive in everything that I talk about. So you hopefully have got your rhythm sorted. You've got your menu down. You have sleep where it needs to be for yourself and for your family, and it all feels good, right? So you're going to then dive into this endeavor of teaching class 1. So when you're doing that, if you're using a curriculum, and that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about here. If you're using a curriculum, I'm going to be suggesting like how we would do it with our curriculum. And if you're not using a curriculum, then, the same things will absolutely apply. So class 1 is different from the other grades in that, at least the way I do it, and I know not everybody is the same, but when I think about a block plan, I think about the entire subject. So a block is an entire subject, but then you might have 2 or 3 4-week segments of that entire subject. So, and often that trips people up a little bit. And when we're talking about class 1 specifically, I don't want it to trip you up. So in class 1, you're going to have a couple of blocks of letter introduction. And then you're going to have a couple, or you have one block that is letter introduction, but it's going to break it down into several different pieces. And then the same with mathematics. So what I like to do is, first and foremost, if you're using our curriculum, great, read it front to back, please. There are so many questions that we get that are answered in the first 20 pages of the curriculum. So please start there. Start by reading it front to back. If you have the digital version, great. What's lovely about the digital version is you have it on your phone and you're stopped, waiting for kids somewhere. You can take time to read it. So I try to write really conversationally, so it should not be super hard. So then, there are these pieces that go along with class 1, with all the grades actually, that you're going to want to make sure that you have in place. So, you've got your festivals. And we didn't talk about festivals in the kindergarten and early childhood video because I pretty much assumed that you were already going to be folding that in. But it might be a little bit harder. In class 1, we really do, we spend, and the same with class 2, we spend about a week on each festival. So you don't have to do a whole big plan separately, but when you're putting together your festival plans for the year, look in your curriculum because we have pieces in there that will help your festival plans be a lot easier. So you'll want to do that. If you're using our curriculum, it is on the Year at a Glance page where we've got the festivals all in one place. And so you might even put those as a block. And the reason why I like to do that is because then you can put all of your resources. Now, when I lay out my block plans, and this will be the same for all the grades, but I'm going to tell you what's on my page in my Planning for Peace journal. So I put the child's name because unless you only have one, which many of you do, but I have a brood. So if I don't, then I will forget who it is. I usually put the time frame that I am thinking of. Now that might not be something that when you're first laying out the block. Often I will lay out all the blocks and then I will go back and adjust the time frame. I of course put the block theme, and in this case for class 1, it would be like fairy tales and letter introductions, right? And then goals for the block. So your goals are going to change, especially for the fairy tales and letter introduction. If you have a child that's not reading, your ultimate goal is reading. That's at the end of the year, that's your ultimate goal, right? That there is at least that budding piece of reading happening. And it absolutely should be. Honestly, the way Steiner lays it out, and also the way I work to lay it out. And if you are one of our members, please watch Reading, Writing, and Spelling because I go into this very detailed. You should have a child that is doing some reading by the time you're introducing the vowels at the end. So keep that in mind. So that might be a goal for the block. My other goals for the block aren't necessarily academic. My other goals for the block might be their art is improving. We're introducing art for the first time in a instructional way in class 1. So we really want to see that art grow. So, those first few weeks, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? But really you're going to allow that space for them to grow. So keep that in mind. Those are just where I put goals for the block. I put them there. And then the next heading is topics and concepts to cover. So of course, we're covering fairy tales and we're covering letter introductions. Now what's lovely, and I'll just do a little side note, if you are watching me on the video, you have this benefit. If not, just listen and pretend you see me. So we have these ABC cards that actually go with our curriculum, and they're beautiful. One side has the picture on it, the other side has the letter on it. And these are great, and you can use them in your planning. I actually, when I sit down to do my my weekly plans, I'll pull the ones I need for the week, and then those will be on my nature table as we're sort of going through the week. So, so you've got that, topics to cover, you've got those pieces, and that would mean that you know where you're getting your fairy tales from. So if you're using our curriculum, the fairy tales are all in there. If not, then you're going to want to be looking for a resource that has the fairy tales in there. You're going to want to read those fairy tales, and you're going to want to vet them and make sure that they work with how you're feeling about things, because there are some fairy tales that have different translations that don't feel as good. So you're going to want to take the time to lay that out. When we put together our curriculum, we had Waldorf teachers that were helping us. A lot of them were helping us with the different letters, and so we have some Waldorf teachers. I went through them. We really tried to pick fairy tales that were appropriate and that were great for class 1. So the next heading would be field trips and experiences. Now this might sound silly because you're doing fairy tales, right? So where will your field trips and experiences be? Well, some fairy tales have some pieces where you could work something in. If you live in the Oakland, California area, you should go to the fairy tale park. When we were doing class 1 for, I don't remember which child, we happened to be on a family trip there, and we went and we did, and it's kind of broken down because it's been there for, gosh, I think 50 or more years. It's been there for a long time, but it was kind of fun to go and see that. It was fun to do that, and my kids had a good time with that. So think out of the box. Think about ways that you could bring in some field trips that they may not think of, and that might be a lot of fun. The next heading I have is outside materials and supplies. That's where like your ABC cards would be there. Make sure you've got your drawing paper, your painting, all of those supplies. I like to list them there because then I can easily make a checklist and I'm not running around trying to figure out what else I need. And then I put a book list for the block. So if you're using our curriculum, you might not have another book. But if you're not, if you are using, another Grimm's anthology, I like to write my book list here because it's super helpful. There are also some opportunities where you might think, okay, well, I want to bring this other story that goes with this letter. Write it down there. Write it down. It's a perfect place to do it. And then when you've got that block laid out, and again, I want to emphasize, if you're using our curriculum, I still do this, because you're going to find pieces that you're going to customize for yourself. You're going to make it for your child, not just for all the children, right? So it doesn't take a lot of time, but it does take a little bit of time. So sit down and really think about it. Sit down and think about it, because honestly, I'm going to tell you, something that is completely scripted, that is not you at all, that has no parts of you in it, is going to feel hollow. You're not going to have the Waldorf experience that you should have with your children if you are allowing somebody else to script the whole thing for you. So just saying that. So that means you're going to want to add in some of your own things. Maybe you want to change some of the stories up. Maybe you want to change and you don't want to draw what we've drawn. You're going to want to plan some of that out. I like to plan out, like seriously, in the summer, I plan out from September to December, and then like detailed. And then in December, I sit down and I plan out the rest of the school year. It's bit me in the butt a few times. Like in 2023, I was in the hospital in August and I was not finished planning things out. So I would highly suggest that is something that you're doing in July. Like the sooner the better, so that you aren't tripped up at all. So when I do the plans, I'm also learning the skills. So you want to make sure you know the drawings. You're not just handing your child the ABC card and saying, draw this. You've taken the time to also learn the drawings. And if you've got our curriculum, we actually have some videos that will help you with that with regards to block crayons. And there's videos to help you with regards to painting as well. So you want to take the time when you're doing your planning to learn the skills. Now, one thing that I think is really important, and it's super helpful to new parents, if you are brand new to all of these skills, is pick one thing at a time. Pick one thing. Maybe you're drawing for the first month. And then the second month you are painting with still some drawing skills in there. And then the third month, you are painting, drawing, and you're going to add in some modeling skills in there. All of the skills are important, but doing them all at once might feel really overwhelming to you. So if it does feel overwhelming to you, take a breath, pick one at a time, okay? Then when you get to the space where you're breaking it out for the weeks, remember I said I like to put all of the alphabet, all of the fairy tales in one block, but then we're going to break that block up. So I like to break it up into 4-week segments, and sometimes it ends up being longer than that. Like in our curriculum, the first block for fairy tales and letter introductions is actually 9 weeks. So if you are using our planner, you would plan out 4 weeks and then plan out the other 5 weeks as well. And what I do when I do that is I'll put the, week 1, I'll put the names of the stories that I'm doing. I will put anything else that I'm adding in there. Is there anything else that you're gonna grab? Is there something in your house that's an amazing prop? Is there a field trip that you want to go on that works really well? I put that in there. And then when I move on to my daily lesson plans, it's so much smoother, so much smoother. Often people like sort of skip this weekly piece. I don't skip it because I find that I need both. I find that I need both. You might decide, hey, wait, I don't need both. I can just do my dailies after I do the blog plan. But if you ever feel like you are skipping too many things or not feeling like you're grounded in it, go back and split it up a little bit. I like splitting it by the week too, because then if there's a birthday or something stuck in there, I can adjust it and it doesn't feel like it's a little bit crazy. So that's mostly with the letter introductions and the fairy tales. Also, like I said, you're going to want to plan out your festivals. Don't go crazy. Like if you are feeling overwhelmed by the festivals and you're new, then just follow the curriculum. Pick the ones that we've picked. Follow the way we've done it. We've laid out some beautiful lessons for you for those days, so you don't have to do a bunch of extra. If you want to do extra, you totally can, but don't stress about it. Don't stress about it. Also, you're going to want to make sure you've got your mathematics pieces together. So if you're making math gnomes, plan it out. You probably want to make those math gnomes about a month in advance. So you've got them all sorted. So you're not like feverishly trying to do them the night before. Yes, don't do that. Get yourself some peg dolls and some felt and start them now so that you aren't feeling like you're rushed. What's beautiful about the math gnomes is I still have the very first set that I made for my son that is 27 as of the recording of this, and I've used it for all of my children. Like I even have a couple that a baby has like sucked on the hat, and so the hat is like felted to the gnome's head, but they are beautiful because they are, ours for our family. And so make something like that then will last for your children. That's pretty much it when it comes to class 1. Again, rhythm, stay ahead on the art. Definitely if you're bringing in music, this is just a tip. Make sure that you sing the song a lot first before you try to put it on a flute. The flute is, it's an important part, or you can outsource it. I love Mr. Mark at our Seasons of 7 school. He helps me out immensely where that is not my strong suit. Definitely you want to plan out your handwork as well, which in class 1 should really just be knitting. And they knit a flute case usually. You can knit some washcloths. So again, that's another place where you need to stay ahead of them. So hopefully you've taken the summer and you've learned how to knit and you've got your art in a good place and you've got your goals set with regards to that. So then you can easily bring it to them. Also, before I forget, don't forget form drawing. I do not do form drawing as a block. In our curriculum, we have form drawing laid out in each week. That is not a math block. So the math blocks are nice because if you need to catch up on some forms, you can. But that way you've got them all integrated, everything is together, and you are in good shape. So if you've got any questions, let us know. Happy to help. And if you can come to Planning for Peace, come to Planning for Peace because we love to help families get going on this journey. That really is very important to me, that you are successful and that you feel good about the direction you're going. So if you've ever got questions, please let us know. We're happy to help. Bye-bye now. I get this question a lot. Melissa, is office hours or Planning for Peace, is it like recorded so that I could just listen to it again later? And here's the answer. No, it's not. And this is why. I really want that to be a safe space. I want that to be a space where you are free to say the things you need to say. You are free to be frustrated with your life, frustrated with your kids, frustrated with your partner, and let us help you pull it all back together and build it back up again. Because you can't do that if you're worried about somebody listening to it again later. So the answer is no. We don't record our live things anymore. Just for that, we really want to protect you.